Welcome to your new moon forecast. My name is Adina. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and in this video, I will be going over the chart for the new moon that we are having in Taurus, May 7th, 2024. I will be getting into the chart for the new moon, then I will be getting into Canada's chart, and then I will be getting into all 12 rising signs. I will have timestamps listed below so that you can skip ahead to the section of the video that you wish to watch, but I do recommend watching the first section of this video where I go over the chart for the actual new moon, because it will bring more context to the energies, especially once we get into all 12 rising signs. Now, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you align with my energy and enjoy my content. Now, let's get right into it. So we have this new moon in Taurus taking place at 18 degrees and 2 minutes. We also have the ruler, the dispositor of this new moon, Venus, in Taurus, amping up this energy. Now, Taurus rules money, finances, food, stability, security, comfort. So this is really giving us the ability to create and seed something that can be very long lasting, very foundational. And when I went into this energy intuitively, I almost felt as if we are able to create something right now on a higher vibration, on a higher timeline, with more emotional and spiritual maturity because of this supportive aspect to Saturn. We have a sextile from Saturn, or I guess the moon is sextiling Saturn, giving us the ability to create something and put something out there, set intentions to grow something on a more emotional and spiritual level with more emotional and spiritual maturity. Saturn in Pisces is really having us become accountable and responsible for our energy, our emotions. And so this is giving us the ability to create something, however that looks like for you, whether it has to do with relationships or finances, to create something though with a higher level of emotional maturity and spiritual maturity, with a knowing and understanding that as long as you're taking care of your energy and you're taking care of your vibration and really taking care of you, you can manifest amazing things. Now, this new moon is also forming a conjunction to Uranus, and Uranus is a wild card. So I do love Uranus is an interesting energy because Uranus can bring in disruptions and chaos and things very sudden and create kind of a shakeup, but it usually causes some type of an enlightenment. It usually wakes us up in some way. It shifts our perspective or perception. And I really look at this new moon conjunct Uranus as that's kind of what's going to happen. So over the next 6 months, while your intentions are seeded and growing, and when we have the full moon in Taurus, once we get to Scorpio season, 6 months from now, throughout that whole 6 month period, just expect that however these intentions are going to grow for you or come in or manifest, there is going to be unexpected twists and turns, but it can shift your perspective in some way. It could make you think maybe, and I feel like a higher level, like a higher vibration, a higher timeline. Like that's what we're all shifting into now with this energy. So we definitely want to be utilizing this new moon in Taurus energy to create something very foundational, very long lasting, whether it is, like I mentioned, financially, or has to do with relationships, or even just your own personal growth, or maybe your career, whatever the case is. Now, I also wanted to mention as well, because Venus is the dispositor and Venus is also in Taurus. When I went into this energy intuitively, Venus is the ruler of that south node. So I feel like there may be something showing up with this energy, whether it's from the past that you're having to address. It could be, psychologically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, but it's something from the past showing up. And we're going to have to move through that, address it, and navigate it, and eventually just release it and let it go. And again, it could be something where, maybe you stressed or worried about something and you're like, I'm done. I don't want to worry about this no more. I'm releasing it. I'm letting it go. I'm done wasting my energy and thoughts on this thing. And I feel like that may happen in order to kind of move through it, release it, and let it go. And then you're able to almost clear your energy, I'm feeling like, and move into this higher vibration and timeline to manifest whatever intentions you're setting at the time of this new moon. And I hope that makes sense. But I was really feeling that last night intuitively when I was getting into this energy. Now, we also have this Mercury Chiron conjunction. So, this is the third and final conjunction between Mercury and Chiron. And we have had a lot of powerful, significant Chiron activations. And Chiron rules our traumas, our insecurities, vulnerabilities, past vulnerabilities, things that have happened in our life that create insecurities and vulnerabilities. And so, having that solar eclipse conjunct Chiron in April 8th in Aries really triggered and activated, insecurities within people and old wounds, old vulnerabilities. And so the fact that we have Mercury conjunct Chiron, I feel like this is also playing into the Venus South Node energy, where it is an old insecurity or an old vulnerability in some way that is showing up from the past or from something that maybe happened previously, and you're having to just kind of move through it and almost have that realization and understanding that I no longer want this in my energy. I no longer want to dwell on this, worry about this, stress about this. I want to release this and let it go. And I feel like that's what this Mercury Chiron energy is doing, and how it's kind of playing into the new moon energy with that Venus kind of South Node energy as well. So we may be triggered. There may be something showing up around an insecurity or vulnerability, something from the past coming in. It could have to do with a relationship or, whatever. But don't ignore it. Move through it and then just come to the understanding and figure out how to release it and let it go and not allow it to consume you anymore. And once we do that, I honestly feel like there's all this energetic baggage kind of leaving, and we can then seed and create something amazing that can really grow on a powerful level with this Taurus energy, because this Taurus new moon is really giving us the ability to manifest something that can be long lasting, to really grow something amazing. Again, with the Uranus energy, it's going to be a wild card. There's going to be twists and turns. It may not manifest in the way that you think, but there's going to be a level of awakening and enlightenment with that process, meaning that whatever comes on your path, it's going to shift your perspective or perception in some way to think in a higher way, which I already kind of mentioned. We also want to remember that Taurus rules the basics, the basic necessities of life, food, money, finances, everything that we need to feel comfort and secure. And so collectively, this can affect our financial systems. This could affect our food supply and food supply chain. So these are things that we do want to watch for over the next 6 months. There's going to be changes in this area because of that Uranus energy, and also with the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. I mean, we're really going to have a lot of changes take place around our finances and financial systems and food. And also the earth. Like I did predict that with that Jupiter Uranus conjunction, we would see a lot more earthquakes, mudslides, volcanoes, things like that. I think that can also still be a thing from now till the end of the year. So we do want to watch for these things, but this energy is about getting back to the basics, getting back to just the basic needs of life, not necessarily the fancy. I mean, a Taurus can be a little bit materialistic sometimes, depending, but it's really just this energy of comfort and security. And that is actually another thing with this new moon in Taurus we could all be craving, is comfort and security, to feel safe in the world, to feel safe in our individual lives. And so we may be pushed to create or seed or set intentions around what it is that's going to make us feel comfortable and safe. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so now let's get into the chart for Canada. So Canada has this new moon taking place in the 11th house, and Canada's 11th house. So the 11th house rules friends and friendships, social groups, online connections, social media can be in the 11th house. So there's been quite a lot going on in Canada's 11th house. So I definitely think we're going to see more protests, which I feel like I've been saying for a while, but it's because we've had a lot of these Pluto activations. And another thing that just literally came to me intuitively was having Pluto in that 11th house and all these activations. I almost wondered if Pluto is in the birth chart, like in Canada's birth chart, if Pluto is in that 11th house, because that is how Canada is going to transform by people rising. And that just came to me intuitively out of nowhere. So I'm putting it out there. But isn't that interesting? Canada may transform by the people standing up for their rights and freedoms, standing up for their beliefs. But I definitely think we're going to see more of that because we did have the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. We also have this new moon. And then Venus is also in the 11th house. Now we have Mars in the 10th house for the next month or so. So there might be a lot going on. The 10th house is government authority, corporation. So there might be a lot going on with the government. I did just see Pierre Poilievre getting thrown out of the house. I didn't actually watch the thing. It was I just heard about it. It was like a little clip on TikTok. He was talking about JT and they like threw him out. So we might see more of that. Just like conflict within the government. But this new moon is also opposing Canada's natal Saturn, and Saturn rules the 7th house. The 7th house I look at the 7th house as like the people and relationships between the country too. I feel like, because the 7th house is relationships, business partnerships, one-on-one connection. So in a country's chart, I almost look at that as like the relationship between the leaders. So we might see some type of opposition or conflict with the leaders of Canada and the leaders of other countries. So that's also something that we want to watch for. Now, another interesting thing is that this new moon is actually forming almost an exact sextile to Canada's ascendant. So there's definitely going to be something seated with this new moon, whether it does have to do with finances or the financial system for Canada, possibly inflation again, because it's something that we're kind of going through and it doesn't really look like it's gonna, subside anytime soon. But yeah, there is a sextile from the new moon to the ascendant. So there could be something seated with the direction that Canada is moving in around the people. I'm trying to like get the words to describe kind of what I'm thinking and feeling right now. I almost feel like too, and this is kind of coming to me intuitively. They've already made a lot of changes with like the online. There's a lot of things that people in Canada can't see. So we might see more of that. There might be more restrictions put on people and how they can connect online, how we can connect just in general. I'm feeling as well. And also too, like Saturn is forming an exact trine to Canada's ascendant at the moment as well. So there's definitely a lot of like tension, I feel like, and restriction. Mind you, Saturn's not Canada's most malefic planet because that sun is below. Actually, no, Canada is. Mars is not. Yeah, so Saturn is actually Canada's most malefic planet. So, yeah, I almost feel like there's like pressure or tension or challenge around Canada and the direction that Canada. And I mean, this isn't really anything that we don't know. We're seeing like there's a lot going on with the leaders of Canada. There's a lot going on with the government. There's a lot being exposed. And so, the astrology is showing that. Like, And it's not going to end anytime soon. I think there's going to be more stuff exposed. Saturn's even going through the Saturn trine. Where transiting Saturn is forming a trine to Canada's natal Saturn. So there's definitely a lot changing with the people, with the relationship that can and this makes sense because I have heard like a lot of the other leaders of the countries don't actually like or really respect JT. So, yeah, there's definitely a lot of changes going on with Canada's relationship to other countries. So, I hope that helps my fellow Canadians kind of get an idea of this energy, but this new moon is working with the people, people coming together, forming groups to stand up for their rights and freedoms or stand up for a specific belief or topic. So yeah, I think we will see more of that. So now let's get into all 12 rising signs. Aries, you have this new moon in Taurus happening in your second house of money, finances, and material possessions. So, this is a great time to set intentions around your money, your finances, also your values. And if you watch the first portion of this video where I go over the chart for the new moon, I talked a lot about how there's a lot of energy here to really build and create something very foundational, very sustainable. However, over the next 6 months until we have our full moon in Taurus, which is the time period where the intentions you set at this time will be manifesting. Because this new moon is conjunct Uranus, expect some unexpected twists and turns. However, I feel like the twists and turns that are coming up with this new moon are to bring in a level of enlightenment in some way, where whatever is kind of thrown on your path, it's to shift your perspective or perception. Now, there can be some triggers with this energy because we have Mercury conjunct Chiron, which is in your first house. And always remember that Mercury conjunct Chiron can bring up some old insecurities, vulnerabilities, trauma, and Venus being in Taurus, Venus also ruling your seventh house of relationships and being the ruler of that south node, it might be bringing someone or something back from the past that has to do with a relationship. And there might be something that needs to be released or let go here, not necessarily like letting go of the relationship, but letting go of whether it's emotional trauma from the relationship, psychological trauma, or just your way of thinking within the relationship. There's something here. And for example, if there's something that you stress and worry about, maybe now is the time to just release it, let it go, and say, I no longer want to worry about this. I no longer want to stress. And that can be tied in with that Mercury Chiron conjunction, where maybe there's something around some insecurities coming up. And then with the sextile to Saturn is what is bringing in that emotional and spiritual maturity. And so you're able to create now, once you release and let, whatever this is go, you're able to create on a higher level, higher timeline, higher vibration, which is then going to bring in and manifest what it is you are seeding, in this second house with this new moon. Taurus, you have this new moon in your first house. This is your new moon. So, this is a great time to set intentions for anything that really has to do with you, your personal growth, your new journey, new path that you're wanting to create, or if you're wanting to, start something new or move into a new direction, this is a great time to do so. If you listen to the first portion of this video or watched where I go over the chart for the new moon, I talked about how there is a lot of supportive energy right now to create something very sustainable and long lasting. And now this new moon is conjunct Uranus. So over the next 6 months, whatever intentions you're setting, expect the unexpected. There might be twists and turns coming in, but I really think that this is happening and kind of getting thrown on your path to enlighten you in some way, to change your perception or perspective around something. Now, we also have this new moon forming a sextile to Saturn, which is giving us the ability to create on a more emotional and spiritual maturity level, in a sense. And because of the Mercury conjunct Chiron and then Venus being the ruler of that south node, there might be some type of something kind of triggered or showing up that you're having to move through, you're having to address. And once you release it and let it go, which is this kind of Saturn and Pisces energy tied in with the new moon, once you release it and let it go, you're now able to create on a higher level, higher vibration with more of an emotional maturity, and oh my goodness, emotional and spiritual maturity level. I hope that made sense. Gemini, you have this new moon happening in your 12th house. Now, the 12th house rules spirituality, karma, things in places that are hidden, like hospitals, asylums, retreat centers. The 12th house can also rule our self undoing and self sabotaging behaviors, escapism. So, this would be a great time to shift and change those karmic behaviors, those karmic cycles, set intentions to get on a new path, to begin something new. And you may have to release and let go of something that's holding you back energetically or emotionally or even mentally, something that you stress and worry about all the time. You may just have to let it go so that you truly can get on this new path and new journey and create something very beautiful, very sustainable, because there is a lot of supportive energy to do so. Cancer, you have those new moon in Taurus happening in your 11th house of friends and friendships, social groups, online connections. Now, this new moon is conjunct Uranus. So, whatever intentions you're setting at the time of this new moon, around those themes and topics, expect the unexpected. So, if you're wanting to, form a group or a group online or, build your own community or something along those lines, if that's what you're wanting to utilize with this energy, just know that it's not going to play out exactly how you expect it to. But Uranus is going to change your perception and perspective on something. It's really bringing in this new level of enlightenment in some way. So whatever Uranus is throwing on your path, it's to shift your mindset. It's to shift your perspective. Also have this new moon forming a sextile to Saturn. So I look at this as really giving us the ability to create on a more emotional and spiritual maturity level. This new moon is great for you to create something around your friends, friendships, social groups, if you're wanting to build or create a community online or even not online, maybe within your community or something like that. This is really great for building connections. Leo, you have this new moon in Taurus happening in your 10th house. So, this is a great time for you to set intentions around your career, your public reputation, your public image, what you want to be known for out in the world. Now, this new moon is conjunct Uranus. So, over the next 6 months, with whatever intentions you're setting with this new moon, expect the unexpected. It's not going to pan out exactly the way you think it will. There might be twists and turns that you're having to address, but it really is to put you on a higher timeline, to bring in some form of an enlightenment. Now, we also have this new moon forming a sextile to Saturn, which I look at really giving us the ability to create on a more emotional and spiritual maturity level. So this can be really great, but there might be something triggered in order to do so. There might be an old wound or insecurity, vulnerability showing up, and maybe it has to do with you being seen or around your career. Maybe you're not as seen as much as you would like to. Maybe you're not acknowledged as much as you would like to be within your career. And it could be, and that's just an example, but it could be something along those lines where there is something showing up. And in order for you to truly create something foundational and long lasting, you're going to have to release and let go some of the stress and some of those worries that you have. Virgo, you have this new moon happening in your 9th house. The 9th house rules higher education, higher knowledge, long distance travel, philosophy, religion, belief systems. Also, publishing and astrology is in the 9th house. So, this is a great time for you to set intentions around those themes and topics. Now, this new moon is conjunct Uranus. So, over the next 6 months, whatever intentions you're setting and however these intentions are going to manifest, expect the unexpected, meaning that Uranus can throw twists and turns on your path, but this is truly to shift your perspective in some way. It's almost bringing in a form of an enlightenment with something, and maybe it's around your belief systems. Maybe it has to do with your religious beliefs or philosophical beliefs. Now, we also have this new moon forming a sextile to Saturn. And I really look at this as giving us the ability and opportunity to create on a more emotional and spiritual maturity level, meaning that because we are going to have a trigger here. We have Mercury conjunct Chiron. So there's going to be something triggered that we have to navigate. And you may have to just release and let it go, release the stress, release the worry around something so that you can manifest on a higher vibrational level. Libra, you have this new moon in Taurus happening in your 8th house of your partner's finances, money coming in from outside resources, taxes, inheritance, psychological healing and transformation. Also, the occult is in the 8th house, death is in the 8th house. So this is a great time for you to set intentions around those themes and topics, but this new moon is conjunct Uranus. So just know that over the next 6 months, with this whole manifestation process, Uranus may throw something on your path that you're having to address, some unexpected twists and turns, but this is to change your perspective around something. This is to bring in some type of an enlightenment with whatever it is you're trying to create at this time. Now, this new moon is also forming a sextile to Saturn, which is bringing in this ability to create on an emotional and spiritual maturity level. And there is going to be some triggers here because we have Mercury conjunct Chiron. So there might be some insecurities and vulnerabilities showing up at this time. But if you release it and let it go, whatever is showing up for you, you're then able to create on a more emotional and spiritual maturity level. I hope that makes sense. Scorpio, you have this new moon in your 7th house of relationships, partnerships, and one-on-one connections. So this is a great time for you to set intentions around your relationships. Now, this new moon is conjunct Uranus. So over the next 6 months with this manifestation process, there can be some unexpected twists and turns, meaning that how you think that your intentions are going to manifest may not be exactly how you thought. But this is really to bring in some form of an enlightenment, to change your perspective on something. Now, we also have the new moon forming a sextile to Saturn. And I really look at this as being able to manifest and create on a more emotional and spiritual maturity level. Saturn in Pisces is holding us accountable, making us become accountable for our energy, our emotions, and really operate and work on that higher vibrational level. And so this new moon, the intentions that you're setting, and also too, I just want to touch on because we have Mercury conjunct Chiron, so there might be something triggered here, and this is where kind of Saturn kind of plays in. Whatever is triggered and showing up for you at this time around insecurities, vulnerabilities, you're having to release it and let it go. And once you do so, you're then able to manifest on a higher level, but with more emotional maturity and spiritual maturity. So you're able to actually manifest on that higher vibration. And I hope that makes sense. Sagittarius, you have this new moon happening in your 6th house of work, health, and daily routine. Also, pets are in the 6th house. The 6th house is the labor that you put into your day-to-day work and all of your routines that you do, your nutrition habits, health is in the 6th house. And so this is a great time for you to set intentions around those themes and topics. But we have this new moon conjunct Uranus, meaning that however this energy is going to manifest, however your intentions are going to manifest, expect the unexpected. Uranus is going to throw something on your path and shake things up a little bit. But this is really to bring in some type of an enlightenment, to change your perspective in some way. Now, we also have this new moon forming a sextile to Saturn. So I really look at this as giving us the ability to create on a more emotional and spiritual maturity level. Now we have Mercury conjunct Chiron, so there might be some type of trigger here around insecurities, vulnerabilities, but if you're able to navigate that on with the Saturn energy with more emotional maturity, we then are able to release almost like I feel like energetic baggage. So then we can create on a higher vibration, a higher timeline. Capricorn, you have this new moon in your fifth house of children, creativity, passion, romance, hobbies, interests. So, this is a great time to set intentions around those themes and topics. Now, this new moon is conjunct Uranus. So, however, these intentions are going to manifest for you, expect the unexpected. But I do feel like whatever Uranus is throwing on your path over the next 6 months, it is to change your perspective around something, it is to bring in some level of enlightenment. Now, we also have this new moon forming a sextile to Saturn. So I look at this as really giving us the support and the ability to create on a more emotional and spiritual maturity level. Saturn in Pisces is really holding us accountable for our emotions, our energy. And with the Mercury Chiron conjunction, there can be something triggered here, around some insecurities, vulnerabilities. And so whatever is showing up for you at this time, if you're able to navigate that in a higher vibrational way, the Saturn and Pisces energy, where you are holding yourself accountable and you're able to kind of release it and just let it go, then you can create on that higher level. Aquarius, you have this new moon in Taurus happening in your fourth house of home, family, property, and real estate. Also, the fourth house is your private life, what you're doing behind the scenes. So, this is a great time for you to set intentions around, home if you're wanting to move. This would be great energy actually for that if you're wanting to manifest a move. Now this new moon is conjunct Uranus, so however these intentions are going to manifest, expect the unexpected. There's going to be unexpected twists and turns, but I do feel like Uranus, whatever Uranus is throwing on your path at this time, it is to bring in a level of enlightenment, to change your perspective on something. Now we also have this new moon forming a sextile to Saturn, right, giving us the ability to create on a more emotional and spiritual maturity level. So, with this Mercury Chiron conjunction, there might be some triggers around vulnerabilities, insecurities, but if you can move through that and release it and let it go, you're then able to create on this higher vibrational timeline and level with the ability, with the emotional and spiritual maturity. Pisces, you have this new moon in Taurus happening in your third house of community, neighbors, neighborhood. Also, vehicles is in the third house. Siblings and cousins is in the third house. Your mindset, communication. Those are all third house themes and topics. So, this is a great energy to set intentions around those themes and topics. Now, this new moon is conjunct Uranus. So, however, these intentions are going to manifest for you over the next 6 months, expect the unexpected. Uranus can throw something on your path, shake things up, but I really feel like this is to change your perspective on something or bring in some level of enlightenment. Now, this new moon is also forming a sextile to Saturn, and I feel like this Saturn sextile with the new moon is really giving us the ability to operate with more emotional and spiritual maturity. Now, with the Mercury Chiron conjunction, there can be some trigger around insecurities, vulnerabilities. But if you are able to move through this consciously and with the awareness and release it and let whatever it is go, it's almost like energetic baggage. We're then able to create on this higher vibration and truly bring in something amazing, something long lasting.